Welcome back to Blam Blam Truckers. I'm Bees, that's Views, and today we're giving our criticisms of Transformers Prime. And I just want to take a moment and say just because you can criticize something doesn't mean you don't actually enjoy it or that you hate it. Being able to compare and contrast, to note what you like about something, what you didn't like about something, that's part of enjoying something. So we do have some criticisms of Transformers Prime, which was my favorite Transformers series so far, including the whole Fall of Cybertron TV show. I don't want to get into that because I have my own criticisms of that. What?
There was a Fall of Cybertron TV show? Are you talking about the comic or
The one on Netflix.
Oh, okay. And that's part of the Prime?
Yeah, I think it's called Earth Wars now. It wasn't Prime. It was. It's on Netflix. Okay. It's one of the later versions of Transformers that's come out.
I'll take a look.
Right. Might have been War for... No, I think it was Fall of Cybertron. It could have been War for Cybertron.
War for Cybertron was a video game.
So was Fall of Cybertron. It was a sequel.
Oh, okay.
They reuse names. That's why you have to specify when you say Robots in Disguise, whether you're talking about the one that was imported from Japan or the more recent one that was done after Prime. Okay. Old cartoon series, by the way. And Robots in Disguise, the one that was imported from Japan, was the first time Optimus Prime was not a
bigger
semi-truck. He was a fire truck in Robots in Disguise. So anyway, criticisms. One of my biggest we just did what we loved about it. So I'll go first, unless you have something in particular you want to do.
Well, I'll lead in because this was probably my biggest criticism of it. I don't have too many. My biggest criticism of the show was when characters are in there, I'm probably going to call it the wrong thing, but they're protoform before they actually get their vehicle mode. Every character that's introduced, before they scan their vehicle mode, you already know what they're going to be because they already have all of the stuff. They already have their wings sticking out the back or their wheels on their arms and stuff like that. It's like, this is not... we know what you're going to be. In fact, so I think of the episode with, what's the name? The plane guy. We were just talking about.
That's one of the Decepticons.
Yeah.
We couldn't remember his name. He's the one who gets stuck in the... he gets stuck as he's phased. He doesn't die when he blows up. He gets phased into another dimension later on in the series.
Okay, I vaguely remember that. But anyways, when he's first introduced, and I'll find the name later, but we see him come out after Starscream pulls him out of his pod. And, well, you can tell he's going to be a big butt plane. And then as soon as we see Fowler's plane coming, it's like, oh yeah, that wing formation looks similar to what's on his back. And yeah, then he scans it, and he's like, now I can transform. But it's like, we already knew you were going to transform into that. They did the same with was it Wheeljack? Is that the...
Wheeljack was the former Wrecker, yes.
Yes. Yeah, they did the same thing with Wheeljack. He never actually got a vehicle mode in his first episode. Never got a vehicle mode. But we know exactly what he would be when he came back because they already had made him so they had like wheels on his arms and a spoiler somewhere and all that. Again, we loved the show. This is just a criticism because I would have preferred them to have a more generic protoform, make their faces look the same,
or maybe a Cybertronian form.
Or Cybertronian form. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, protoform is different. Their Cybertronian form, they can look similar. You just not have all the doodads and stuff on them. Their faces would be the same. But, as Bees was so fond of telling me, there's a reason for that. We don't know what the reason is. No real reason at all. Not like, they want there's the money. But I think the money
It costs money to animate something differently. Like, it's not like drawing a comic where you're paying the guy, it's one guy or girl doing all the art, and they can draw whatever they want. It's dozens of people working on 3 minutes, and coming up with a brand new model is going to cost them money. Or even changing the model for scenes. Go ahead.
It's why you'll also notice that a lot of bad guys generically look the same in a lot of CGI shows. And actually, you'll actually even notice that in hand-drawn type shows as well. But it is to save money because it's less time that goes into it. But as I was intimating earlier, toys also have something to do with it as well. You can't really sell a Cybertronian form toy, although, I mean, some people would buy it. Yeah, that's true.
It's about toy sales. The whole thing's a 30-minute, 23-minute toy commercial. So one of the problems, as much as I love the storylines that they did in Transformers Prime, one of my biggest criticisms is the storylines they didn't do. And I'm not saying what they could have done, like just what I think they should have done, but what they hinted at or storylines they started down the path of. And instead of focusing on the more character-driven story arcs, they went for super weapon story arcs or Doodad of the Week story arcs. So we don't get the whole storyline, the one that's coming to me, because I only watched the first 10, 12 episodes in preparation for this. So part of this is coming from memory, and part of it is just things that popped out for me while I was rewatching. Jack, his whole relationship with the girl from class, Sienna, or Sierra, or whatever her name was. Where was that going? Well, ended up going nowhere. It factored into the first, 10 episodes, and I don't think we see Sierra again after the whole race episode with Knockout's first appearance. Now, part of that is the audience, they are aiming at children when creating this show to some degree. But that doesn't mean kids don't understand romance or want him. The storylines they did had enough romance elements to appreciate. I'm not looking for, a whole love story, but I did want to see where that went, if it went anywhere. And there were other storylines with the whole thing with Ultra Magnus and his relationship with Wheeljack. I thought that was handled pretty well later on, but we could have gotten a little bit more into that. And they didn't know they were bringing in Ultra Magnus earlier on, or they could have foreshadowed that better, who he was. They don't get into enough detail about where the characters actually came from and what life was like on Cybertron beforehand and aspects of the war that they could have gotten into detail. Where the Viacons came from, for crying out loud.
We talked about that a little bit in the last episode.
I'm serious, though. Where did the Viacons come from? Why are they all the same? Or why are there three groups of them? Tanks, cars, and fighter jets.
Planes. Yep.
Yeah. Planes, trains, and automobiles. Planes, tanks, and automobiles. And you don't really see the tanks very much in Transformers Prime. They're mostly planes and cars, but they're still there. And why are they all the same? What is up with that? They just did it they hung a lampshade on it, called them Viacons, came up with a name for him, which I appreciate on one hand, but on the other hand, I want to know how this gets explained inside the lore of Transformers. And while I love the fact that they felt okay to change the characters a lot, that is not the RC I know. They changed RC a lot. They changed Bumblebee a lot. Bulkhead, well, Bulkhead was a relatively new character. And this is in contrast to Optimus Prime, who they get incredibly right. Wheeljack, that's not the Wheeljack I know. And I know Wheeljack pretty well. I watched G1 Transformers. Okay, Wheeljack was a major character. He's an inventor. He's a little out there with his inventions. They're usually kind of dangerous. But this guy was not. He was just a warrior. Not that there's anything wrong with being a warrior. There's nothing wrong with that. So when I say just a warrior, Wheeljack used to be a warrior and a crazy inventor. Now he's only a warrior. RC was nothing like she was she was introduced in Transformers the movie. Very different personality. And why isn't she pink anymore? Why is she blue? Why is she
purplish?
What?
I thought it was more purplish, but I might be remembering wrong.
There's parts of her that are more purplish, but overall, I think it's a more blue color. And there's hints of pink. There's little pipings and edgings of pink on her, but she was pink and white, with elements of gray. Now she's not anymore, and that's fine. Those I don't actually mind any of those changes. They turned out to be very good changes, but at the same time, there's that gut reaction of why are you changing this? What was wrong with the other character? Bumblebee is a completely different character. That drove me up a wall. There wasn't, and then Arachnia. That was new and that was good as her first appearance. She's clearly based off of Black Arachnia from the Beast Wars cartoon, and yeah, but they changed all that. They focused way too much on the uh, super weapons instead of solid stories well told. Which I'm not saying these stories were not for super weapon stories. They're pretty good, but they keep chasing after the whatever the MacGuffin of the week is. The Decepticons get it working, and it's not of the week. There's about 4 or 5 mega super weapons every season, and then 20 episodes, and some of them are multi-parters. Usually, these are the multi-part stories. It starts standing out, and I don't like mega weapon stories in general. I like a nice character-driven or plot-driven story with maybe one mega weapon, one crazy super thing that goes on. There's just so many. They're hard to name them all. How many that we said in the last episode? One of the great things is to get Optimus Prime right. He always sacrifices even his chance at saving Cybertron to save Earth. He won't give up Earth to fix an already broken Cybertron that he helped destroy. Not that he wanted to, but that's the end results, you know. So, yeah, I got really tired of the super weapon thing. As somebody who appreciates all the various aspects of Transformers lore, I wish it was a nice, tighter series that the things they did were explained better. Though this is some of the best explanation we get for the whole aligned continuity, sadly. It wasn't aimed at adults, I guess, is the overall arcing problem here. But it is, despite that, it's still quite good. I don't want to just ramp on criticism. Well, this is the criticism show. I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it a lot. And then they killed off one of the things that really drove me nuts. They killed off the character of Breakdown because they didn't have enough money at the time to pay the voice actor anymore. So they decided to kill off the character. And they could have retired him, put him into stasis lock, brought him back later when they had more money, because they ended up bringing in the character of Blue Streak or Smokescreen. I forget which one he is. It was the same toy with a different paint job when I was a kid.
Okay.
Who also was nothing like his character in G1. He was very much so like Hot Rod from G1. And they completely dropped that storyline. The whole him being the next, potentially a new Prime, and having the potential to be a leader and all of that gets dropped as soon as they go into Beast Hunters, the final, not the last season, but the movie there, the Beast Hunter movie, which ended the series. Was it blue? Did you look it up? Was it Blue Streak?
It's what was that?
Was it Blue Streak or Smokescreen?
Oh, I don't know. I hadn't. Breakdown. I'm showing was a Decepticon.
Yes, Breakdown was the Decepticon played by Adam Baldwin.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Beast Hunters Predacons Rising was the name
That's
of the
it.
movie.
That was the movie.
So you were right with Beast Hunters, but
yeah,
Predacons
Beast Hunters was
Rising.
the third season, and then Predacon Rising was the movie. Beast Hunters Predacon Rising. Transformers Beast Hunters Predacon Rising. Got to get all that trademarking right. Anyway,
and if I'm, sorry, I was going to say for my next one, one of my criticisms was actually Predacons Rising, and I know this is a silly criticism.
No, it's not.
Okay, I got attached to the human characters throughout the show.
As you should.
And for Predacons Rising to be the final thing, it's like we had the goodbye for the humans in the final episode for Transformers Prime. However, Predacons Rising, it doesn't touch on the humans at all again, and I'm like, but they were such a large part of the show. They were a major cast thing. And I have to say, one of the reasons I remember not liking the movie was the lack of the human characters, because they provided, it was a weird kind of balance. And as I mentioned in the last episode, one of the things I liked was the chemistry of all of the cast working together. Without the human characters, you lose some of that chemistry. Did I still like the movie? Yeah, I did. I mean, I watched it. I enjoyed it. But it, even though the story itself wasn't bad from what I remember, it just felt like it was lacking because I'm missing some of the major characters that I've been following for the past 3 years. Or
Hmm.
since I've binged to this all mostly at the same time over the past year and a half.
It was also one of those things where the story for Predacon Risings was not as tight as the other stories were. Clearly, they didn't
It
have as much time to write it, or they just didn't do as good of a job. I don't know. I don't
it
have
felt
it in
like an
front of me who
add-on.
wrote it. Yeah,
It yeah,
it
it
did.
felt like it feels like it felt like an almost like an unneeded sequel.
Mhm.
Like we've got this, we've got money, we're gonna put this together because people will watch it.
Yeah,
Not
and we'll
because they
sell
had a
some
great
and we'll
story
sell
they
more
wanted to
toys.
tell. Exactly, yes, we will sell more toys.
They sold the Predacon toys,
Mm-hmm.
so which is good. I don't fault them for that, but it's also entertainment. It's not just selling toys. And you sell the toys by putting out good entertainment. We've said this before on here, but we love these stories so much, we surround ourselves with little bits of memorabilia about them, like Deathwatch Mando or Prime or whoever. All your different Cheetors and Bumblebees you got there in front of you. Another criticism I had for it is they kill off characters too fast. Like we get introduced, you see it with Cliffjumper though. With Cliffjumper, it was a story point. It was a major
Yeah.
story point, and the death of Cliffjumper affected the team, especially RC, for the episodes to come. Most of season one, or at least the first half, RC is still reeling from that. But then, in a flashback, we meet Tailgate, who also died in that same series of flashbacks in one episode, and they're too quick with the trigger, in my opinion, especially for a kids show. You can show a lot more with Transformers because they're robots, but you should also be showing the fact that just because they get offline doesn't mean they can't be brought back online. That's one of the key things about Transformers from back in the day and throughout the series is death is not necessarily permanent for Transformers. It's less permanent than it is for humans anyway. And that's something they did not. It comes and goes. You can see it in Transformers the movie from 1987 or 86. Optimus Prime dies, they can't do anything for him. Ultra Magnus gets blown up in the same movie, and he's split into multiple parts, and they fix him like that. So it
Yeah.
hasn't always been consistent, but it is something that they don't touch on enough. They are robots. They're alive, but they are robots, and their death is for them. Death is very different than it is for us. Um, anyway, a lot of criticisms. Uh, I was going to get into who the creative forces were behind it, but we're out of time.
Yeah.
And I don't want to. You'll notice I'm not yelling and screaming here much. These are criticisms. They're not like, oh, this is awful. It was a very enjoyable show. It didn't ruin the show for me. Again, the fact that Transformers continuity is so flexible allows them to try new things. And when it works, it really, really works. And it really, really worked with Prime. Oh, one more thing. The redemption arc for Megatron was way too fast.
Oh, the whole Unicron. That was during the Unicron arc, wasn't it?
No, well, yeah, I guess. At the very end of the series, he,
Okay.
he doesn't want to be controlled because he was controlled. He doesn't want to be controlled anymore. And it's like, you've been doing this. You've been controlled before earlier in the series, and you didn't have this reaction. Why is it happening now? Because they want to end the series in a positive note. They want to sell more toys. They didn't do the build up for it right. It's the same way I feel about the whole Pa Wraith storyline in Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
It wasn't ended. The rest of the series ended very well. The Pa Wraith part, the final battle there, felt rushed.
Good.
Like what's his name? Cisco didn't have enough agency. Anyway, Agency is the other thing that is really a big thing with me. And when you focus on super weapons, it feels more like there's going to be a Deus Ex Machina. There's less agency all in all. So we're at 20 minutes. You want to call it?
All right, let's call it. Well, I appreciate everybody for joining us today.
Can I do
But
my
before
appeal?
yeah, I was going to say, you just handed it over to me. I was about to hand it back over to you. So,
Anybody out there that knows somebody over at DC who would like to hear a pitch, or whoever's running Transformers these days, I'd love to be pitching movies to you guys. Reach out, let me know how to do it, let me know who to contact, and right through our YouTube website. You can reach us through Facebook, and we'd love to talk to you. I'd love to hear about it, because I've got some great ideas for DC movies, Transformers movies, all sorts of stuff. Thanks, guys.
we will see you, truckers.